Let's dig into Wonder Man. So they dropped all 8 episodes on Disney Plus, and it feels like people maybe had low expectations because it was just not really touted that much. And so far, the reactions online have been very positive. What is your immediate reaction after thinking into this one?
I really liked it. For me, I put it in easily probably top 5 MCU TV show.
Yeah.
I try not to. I know everyone sometimes too likes to blend in like the animated stuff. I try to like keep those separate from live action. Personally, I feel like that's just like different. But like it was good. It was definitely a different take on things. For me, probably my top 2 are Loki and Agatha. Just like give people a take. And right now, if I'm thinking about it, I'm probably going to put Wonder Man at 3. I just liked. It's just different, right? Like it's more character driven. We see way more about Simon. In fact, it's more obviously character if you've seen it than it is anything superhero related for the most part. And I mean, we got like a buddy kind of cop show, not cop, but like buddy comedy with him and Trevor. And like, I didn't know that I needed more Trevor Slattery in my life, but now I
Who
do.
knew? That
Right?
what a redemptive arc from Iron Man 3 to being a character that was a bit of a letdown. I mean, we thought we were getting real Mandarin, and all of a sudden it was this, and now all of a sudden I'm like, more Trevor. I gotta get more Trevor in my life.
Totally. Like him and Simon together are so good. And I also think just like, I'm sure we'll get into it, but like some of the stuff that Simon goes through is so relatable. I feel like obviously most of these things that a lot of these heroes and even villains go through is relatable. Um, but given that it's way more of a person, even though he is like quote unquote a celebrity or an actor, um, I still feel like it seems more relatable than someone with superpowers because even though he does have them, again, the show doesn't really rely on that super powered aspect of it.
Yeah. Matter of fact, the power is a problem, and he's trying to avoid it. And I saw it as, oh, this reminds me of, early Hollywood when you were a communist, or if you were gay, or something like. There was always something that you had to hide about yourself. You couldn't be yourself, or else Hollywood would turn you away. And it was like, this is just a really good example. Like they're using powers for this, but it could be any time in Hollywood, and there was always something. Yeah.
Yeah, so true. I mean, I didn't even necessarily think of that. I just led more to like it was just this thing, right? Like he can't show his true colors because obviously he's not going to get the role. And I didn't even think of that. The biggest thing was just like again, Marvel kind of like hitting the nail on the head or like being right up. I can't think of the phrase right now, but just like one superhero fatigue hitting that in this, but then also using the original movie in the show was a white actor, and now they're using a black actor to not replace him, but cast as that. Of course, people are like questioning that, and we get that all the time in our actual world with Marvel shows and movies.
I thought that was interesting that they didn't bring that up. Like, I think that they could have had like trolls online be jerks or whatever, but in a way, it kind of reminds me of Bob's Burgers, how they treat the LGBTQ community, where it's like we don't have to say that something's a revolution; it's just how people are, and that's just who they are. And it was kind of nice that people just was like, okay, this is a black version, and it was like, can we just have that in our world, please?
I know. You hit the nail right on the head with Bob's Burgers because it's just like you see that, and there's just always people are just like it is what it is. Like
Yeah,
there's just another person, and there they are.
it's so nice. I want to live in Bob's Burgers world.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
when I came into this, I was hoping for a comedy maybe or something like that, but what I wasn't ready for was the performances. And it should have been there, right? It's a show about acting. You should expect good acting. But there were so many times where either Ben Kingsley or Yaya were giving these conversation, these monologues. I'm sorry, where I was on the edge of my seat. They were just dropping every line so hard, and you could actually see the change in how they did it based off of things that they changed. And so I bet it was a lot of fun on set where they were really trying to, or even for the director, how do you direct an actor to be acting differently now beyond just being an actor? The meta-ness of this has got to be pretty fun. I have a feeling, especially these two together, they were having a lot of fun on set. I got that vibe.
Totally. I just think like one, it was always so funny to see Yaya like as he's preparing for something, right? And doing his
Yes.
like obviously loosening up his lips and stuff like that, which I'm sure people do, but then like all of his just like gyrations that he does with his bodies and just stuff like that. And I just
Yeah.
like can imagine just be like, I need to play someone who's just like crazy and like has a
Yeah.
crazy routine before they get ready, even if it's not his. And then like probably to have him be with Ben Kingsley just in general was probably just like a real treat for him just because of how well known Ben Kingsley is. And just like to have it's got to also be wild for Ben to have this role of like for all the things that he's done, and now he's like highly known for being this like joke actor in in the Marvel universe, but now has turned into something like so big, like people just want more of him.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing too, is if we look at Trevor versus Ben Kingsley, Ben is Trevor but successful. And so I can imagine Ben has all kinds of theories on acting, but when you put it like, okay, now be a version of the people that were like left in your wake as you kept going up, and try to look back at those. And we had that we had that relationship here too with others, with Joe oh gosh, I can't ever say his last name. Pantoliano was the successful version, right? He was the Ben Kingsley in this story. And so I bet he had a lot of fun with that. Boy, I really liked, there was a thing that Trevor kept doing where he like goes up at the end of his sentences a lot. And I was like, this would probably annoy me if it was like the Valley Girl accent or something like that. But something about the way he speaks, it was like he learned this because he knew it made him unique in auditions. And for some reason, I just wanted to hear him talk more and more. I wish he had a
Yeah,
podcast.
I know. Just again, just like some of the dialogue, like you said, just unexpected too. Just to like, what was it? Episode 6 when they were at Von Kovac's house and like Trevor and Yaya are out on the balcony and he just
Yes.
like gives them a pep talk and just like talks about, you know, you being an actor helps other people basically lose themselves
Hmm.
and escape in the movie or show or whatever they're doing, right? It's just these things, like you said, weren't expected. And you're just like, wow, that was really like profound. Again, from Trevor, someone that you don't expect.
Yeah. Or even in the first episode when they go into the bathroom, he sees that Simon's going to be auditioning, and he pulls him into the bathroom. He's like, "You're a mess," and then he tells him, and I watched it again. I didn't really notice it the first time, but I noticed it this time, to breathe out and then go, because it'll like starve your frontal lobe so you won't overthink anything, which is a huge problem. And one of the problems that we see with Simon is that he has anxiety all the time. It's a huge problem with anxiety, is that you're overthinking the scenario. And so when he goes in to the audition, I didn't realize that that's what he's doing, but he breathes in real heavy, then breathes out, and nails it. And it's a mix of Trevor knowing exactly what he needed to hear, what Simon needed to hear, probably have been there before. Simon taking that and realizing that, oh, Trevor's of value to me beyond just being a cool actor that I look up to, and was able to land that line and get past the thing. When watching it the second time, I actually had to fast forward past the gosh, I can't even remember what the name of the show, American Horror Story scene, because it's just too cringy. It's hard to watch on purpose, you
It
know.
was so bad. It's just like also to see like because I recently finished up the whole show today. But like I'm going from American Horror Story at the beginning, and then when they were at Von Kovac's, and I was like knowing when Von Kovac was giving Yaya like or Simon like all the direction when they were gonna like go, he was gonna go with his partner. I was like knowing how in depth Simon is, he's gonna crush this, and he like they like took the story completely different and like blew it for him. And meanwhile, I'm having anxiety while he's like slamming plates and glasses
Yes.
down on the ground. I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? You're ruining it.
Oh God, Pretty Woman. Why are you doing Pretty Woman, dude? Come
Yes.
on, you're killing me here. You just want the very best for him. So breaking down each character individually, we've been doing quite a bit of that, but the motivations behind Simon, the fact that his father had passed away, and this was one of the memories he had of his father. It's just one of those classic moments where your dad gets you out of school. He sees it's just not the right place for you right now, and they bond over this movie, which is something I think as a geek, that's something you would love to do, is bond with your kids over the geeky movies you watched as a kid. And then translating that into the future, I think that's part of when we look at superhero fatigue. People think it's like, oh, it's tired because we're seeing the same Marvel movies all the time. But we're also got to remember that new generations are entering into this world all the time. And so that connection that we have with the younger generation over 20 years now is pretty special. And it was nice that Marvel took a second to like show us an example of that on screen.
Yeah, I really like you just said, you can't help but root for Simon. Like as you're
Mhm.
watching him, again, I feel like almost anyone could probably relate in some sort of way, right? Like you just said, he shared that moment with his dad and why this movie means so much to him. He's basically trying to be an actor. Not all of us are trying to be actors, but he has a dream of something. We all probably have a dream to achieve whatever that may be. And we all know what it's like to always be so close, but to never get it. And like, again, the anxiety people overthink all the time or get in their own way, just like Simon. Again, towards the end, as you're like, you just want to root for him. So it's just like so hard not to. And I really liked, again, what they did with the show and doing that.
If you were a kid, or say the same situation you're in, say you were in the same situation. There you go. Uh, what is that superhero character you grew up with that you were like, if this role comes up, I gotta play him? You know.
Oh, man. So this is kind of hard because I didn't do a ton of nerdy stuff when I was
Mm,
younger. There was some. If I had to go back, I was really into Power Rangers, so I'd probably have to be like Jason, right?
oh, of course. Yeah.
Um, it'd probably have to be, I guess, like Ash. I can't be a Pokemon, so
Yeah.
probably like Pokemon.
Yeah.
So it'd
Yeah.
probably be like Ash Ketchum, or probably Jason from Power Rangers.
You took it with Ash Ketchum. That was the dream. That would have been so cool. And then yeah, I'll be the Green Ranger, White Ranger. I'll be Tommy. But but yeah, Ash Ketchum would have been cool. I'm thinking Beta Ray Bill's always been a favorite of mine. Kind of a cowboy version of Thor. But yeah, it's something about I messaged. I'm like, hey Kevin, you could do CGI, man. Let me be Beta Ray Bill. I'll do whatever it takes. Um, but I do love that we kind of have that motivation out of him, and it's I mean, he's a working enough actor to pay the bills. He has an apartment in LA. That's not an easy task to do. He's definitely paying the bills, but it's not enough. And even in that conversations that he has with Ben Kingsley, where they're talking about acting and like you're saying, it's not about it's about letting people escape. You could tell it's a calling for these two. So when Simon's brother, which we'll get into that too, because I wonder if they're going to go that route. But when Simon's brother's like, just get a real job, he's like, he's got a real job, but it's also a calling beyond a bigger paycheck. He doesn't want that. He doesn't care. He just wants to work hard. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you even saw that too when they like both got their roles and they went out to dinner with like the agency,
Mm-hmm.
and Trevor was like, you can do whatever you want. And Janelle was like, you don't want to do theater, Simon, but he was like, I love theater. That's what I like to do. Like you could tell, like again, even like I had to laugh like when they got their like the side script or whatever it was when they were driving, like, they were chasing that guy who filmed him. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, we've got it. And they were like, hold on, pull over, reading it, like analyzing it. I'm like, you guys were literally trying to stop this guy. And you're like,
Yeah.
we got to look at the script, man. We got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they find out like Barnaby portrays him like they're best friends. Like the motivation doesn't make
Yep.
sense. It's like, go get that dude.
Yeah, it's just like
Amazing.
you hit it right on the nail on the head there too. It's just like you could tell that acting for them is way more than just a job. It is exactly what Trevor said. It's a calling.
Yeah. And then we have his powers, these ionic powers, which you did I want to make sure to shout you out. You did really good videos about this leading up to Wonder Man. So make sure you guys check this out. Links in the description. Can you kind of break down his powers for us, actually?
Yeah, I mean, he has ionic powers in the comics. Those were given to him by Baron Zemo and the Masters of Evil at the time, which included Enchantress and Executioner. Um, Basically, he just went under this ionic beam or whatever Zemo had, and he had no idea that was going to work this well. And initially, he just had like this superhuman strength and power, and I don't think they necessarily said that he was like ionic energy. And then a lot of weird stuff happens, and I'm
Yeah.
like, this is part of the reason why they don't do a one-to-one comic adaptation, because there would have been a lot needed for this. But like Simon dies right away, he gets brought back to life, but he's a zombie. And then we later learned that like some other stuff was happening with Eric. There's a whole, it's very convoluted. Essentially, at one point, when he came back to life, he came back as basically ionic energy. So like himself is ionic energy. And so that pretty much puts him on literally like as strong and as Thor. So godlike powers essentially. And like he's ionic energy, being that like he doesn't need to sleep, he doesn't need to breathe, he doesn't need to do all these things, even though he like still does. But he is just a pure being of ionic energy. That's pretty much what it is. And from what I understand, he could pretty much do anything with that.
Right, right.
Obviously fly, and create all kind of stuff. Like I was watching with my wife and she was like, he says he have like Hulk powers. And I was like, not quite.
Not yet, really.
Yeah.
But if he wants them, he can have them. I guess it's interesting that way. Yeah, and then the flight thing, I thought for sure they would never show. So I was like, that's going to be this show's trying to not do too much power stuff. That's a big power move right there. And sure enough, the final shot was them flying out of there. That was surprising to me. Yeah, they did a great job with his powers though, just keeping him kind of MCU-esque, right? Everything's got to be curtailed for the MCU. Do you think we'll ever get a little hint at Vision or Scarlet Witch's relationship with him?
I would really like that somehow. I think, we're supposed to get Vision Quest. I don't know if they're going to have some sort of connection to that in one of the videos that I made of like what to read. I did mention one of these like timelines where, not timelines, but like issues where Vision turned into the White Vision in the comics because the government pretty much dismantled him and then put him back. And then Scarlet Witch, basically, for those that don't know, the Vision was made by Ultron in the comics, and Ultron used Wonder Man's brainwaves from when he initially died, which were saved by Ultron's creator, which is Ant-Man. So slightly different from MCU. And then they used his brainwaves and put that into Vision. So Vision and Wonder Man are almost the same person, essentially. And after he was erased, at that time, he was married to Wanda, which we have in the MCU, or at least together, right? And after he was erased, Wanda saw him again and was like, Vision, but she realized like he obviously wasn't the same. So she went to Wonder Man and said, hey, can we use your brainwaves again? Yeah. And Simon said, nah, yeah. I've already have trauma enough from all of this stuff. I don't want to do it again. Now that we know that we have the White Vision, although some of that has to do with like the hex, it's again, kind of gets lost in like the magic and stuff like that. So I don't know if we necessarily need to, although it would be cool to do that. But I can see them not going that route.
The other route I see them not going is with Grim Reaper. With their brother, he doesn't seem like he's interested in that world. I think he's too grounded in this,
Yeah, I had no idea, right? And I was like trying to be proactive when I made some videos on Grim Reaper. I was like, he's going to be the villain. Yeah. It's going to happen. And obviously that never came to. But I mean, the Grim Reaper is pretty sinister. And you kind of saw it a little bit, like in that third episode when he with the family, you're like, oh man, Eric is not a very nice brother. But towards the end, you could tell that he had some admiration for Simon and was happy for him after he, made it.
Yeah. It's a tricky relationship because I think the thing with Eric is that he does love his brother. He might not be a nice guy because a lot of the reasons that he becomes Grim Reaper is vengeance for his death. But yeah, I just don't see that character becoming the MCU version of him becoming a villain in any way.
No. I did see someone theorize, though. They were like, Eric was the one who caused the fire in the show, and he was hiding part of it. And like Simon happened to be there. So like they were saying like Eric has powers too, which could be like how maybe they bring him in as Grim Reaper. But I was like, that's interesting.
You know what just dawned on me, and it's kind of silly. It's just dawned on me. They didn't explain where he got his powers from.
No, and I saw someone complaining too. Or would you're talking about Simon?
Simon, yeah.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is like people are expecting him to be a mutant. So like, slightly different from what we got in the comics, but teenager maybe came on with anxiety or some sort of high stress event, very similar to a lot of X-Men / mutant kind of bringing on of their powers essentially.
Mm-hmm. And we got it with Kamala Khan where they took, a character and made them a mutant. It just kind of makes sense a little bit. I think it works personally. I think it works well for me.
Yeah,
I'm cool with that.
Totally.
We're entering in the mutant age. We kind of got to set this up. And that was another thing too, is actually brought up by one of my co-hosts, is this show is setting up the idea that there is social distrust of superpowered people with, the Doorman episode. So that's kind of an early stage to eventually the X-Men and everybody hating X-Men.
Totally.
Moving over to Trevor, he was this, obviously he's comic relief, and he kind of was treated that way with Mandarin, but I liked how they took his character and they were like, well, let's not just have him be the butt of jokes, but also a driving force to keep keep Simon on track. And man, you gotta find a person like Trevor in your life that just gets you and gets you right back on track. I really loved how much he was the go-to sidekick for Simon.
Yeah, I think again they just work together so well, and I feel like what you said earlier, they probably had such really good chemistry together, like actually acting between Yaya and Ben, and they probably had so much fun together that this was a good time for them. And it came through at least on the screen. If it didn't, it came through on the screen like it did.
Even better actors than.
Yeah, I didn't know I needed that much Trevor in my life, but man, I need more Trevor. Like it's
That's
just
wild.
and it's also like not like you said, not only is he comic relief, but he is that like he grounded Simon. He was Simon's really first true friend that he could hang out with and trust initially, and then that was broken, unfortunately. But like it was just good. And again, something we can all relate to. There's that you probably have that one friend that you just like, I would trust you with my life.
Yeah, yeah, and he himself is going through some situations right now with the Mandarin. Do you feel like he was trying to escape the Mandarin or trying to use the Mandarin? Because I found it interesting that he did keep the glasses and the rings. So as much as he kind of seems like he doesn't want to necessarily be referencing it, why do you still have those two things next to other mementos too?
Right. Yeah. I mean, from what it seemed like, at least on the outside, it seemed like he was trying to escape that. I also wonder too if that like Trevor does seem like a deep guy. So even though he may be trying to escape it, it seems like maybe that's something he would want to keep as a memento, not in a positive light, but something to always remind him of like, hey, this was not a great part of my life, and this is, like me. It's just my reminder of what I don't want to be.
Yeah, it was a big chapter of his life. I also kind of was thinking like maybe he recognizes that it was a good performance because Simon does say like, actually, you did do good as Mandarin, but I liked you from this one commercial or something. But maybe he's like, I nailed it.
I mean, yeah, that could be it too. I mean, Trevor is an interesting fella. He's very eclectic. We'll just say that.
Yeah, his personality. I love how his personality is so big, but it does ebb and flow depending on like if he's acting or if he's under pressure. But even when he's under pressure, and it should be downplayed. But he's like got the mob after him or whatever. He's still got a big personality. You're like, this guy never plays it low key at all. It's great.
Never plays it low key.
Yeah. The season overall, the whole backstory of the Department of Damage Control using him, I was worried about how they would handle that because it's like you knew betrayal was coming, you knew that reveal was coming, but also this friendship, of course, and that tension is a driving factor in the show. And so I was a little bit worried about how they would handle that. How do you feel like the pacing and stretching that story arc worked out for them in comparison to the acting too? By the way, like the other major story plot.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was good. I think maybe what do I want to say? It was good that they revealed it early on. At points, it was kind of just like he's checking in so much that it's like just let him do his thing, like letting Agent Cleary, right? Agent Cleary, like let Trevor do his thing, just like because at some point, like Agent Cleary kind of seems like he's lost control of what's happening there, but
Yeah, right?
it's his only connection to Simon, right? So it's like he can't let Trevor go. But then later, like when they like capture Trevor, he's like super proud of capturing Trevor and not Simon. He's like talking to his boss and he's like, "Oh yeah, we got a guy, not our guy, but still a big one." And it's just like you realize that like this is not what you wanted.
Right.
So like after a little bit, it's kind of just like Agent Cleary, he does a really good job. He's a person you love to hate. But also at the same time, it's just like they're touching on it, they're not touching on it. I don't know. I didn't mind it, but it seemed like there was these like weird touch points in my mind. I'm just like trying to think back on that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The anxiety of having that situation underneath really, and it's the point, but really sucks when you're watching this blossoming friendship. And if we zoom out too, let's zoom out from this whole thing. And we saw how like the American government captures Vision over here, and they just keep fumbling the ball. And we're seeing this like hierarchy thing. And the way that this guy's so stressed about capturing Simon feels like there's a quota involved. And so
Totally.
I'm like, man, are they really setting up the American government to be the villain of? Oh, we just have actually, yeah, we just had the Brave New World too, where the whole thing was like that they're not working out too well. Um, and I think that the next phase of Marvel, especially going into the X-Men stuff, the American government's going to be a problem for all of our friends. This is not good.
No, I think they're definitely setting that up. And like even in that one meeting, the person who's like running the DODC prison was like, we're, it's only half full. He's like, we need to fill it up. So like clearly there is some sort of quota. And yeah, I think all of that is like a driving factor towards the mutants are coming. And we know that one of the biggest plot lines is people are afraid and don't like mutants. And there's just a big social divide on that, and they're just trying to gear people up for whatever they merge this Marvel universe into one thing of there's going to be people that don't like mutants.
Yeah, that's going to be a big pill for the mainstream fans that maybe don't like know comic book stuff too much. But the idea of merging universes is going to be a tough one to explain. Multiverses was tough too, but the idea like yeah, Miles Morales has been here the whole time. You just didn't know he was there the whole time. It's a now a thing. It's going to be interesting to explain. I'm waiting to hear somebody say like Senator Kelly or something in the background, or hey, this is blah 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 Trask over here. It'd be fun.
That's going to be a huge name drop.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Uh, the show's mix of comedy versus drama I thought was done quite well, and how I felt like I was laughing, but I knew the stakes were still heavy. We talked about with the Department of Damage Control undertone, with getting this role undertone, hiding your power undertone. But the whole time I'm still laughing at these two guys having fun together. And man, when they both land the role, there's one picture I keep using over and over again, where they're like in the dressing room, and we're seeing Slattery get like his blue suit on and stuff like that. They're just kind of having fun with each other, and even the managers are like, "You guys, we get that you're a bromance, but damn it, if I don't like these two." Do you think they did a good job balancing the drama enough with the comedy?
I think so. I feel like all of that was there for most of it. There's a lot of just like what is happening in the first two episodes gets a little bit deeper in the third episode where we see Simon's family and we get to learn a little bit more about him and just that dynamic. Episode 4 with Doorman is just like completely different,
Yeah,
but
we're
like
going into
also
that one
funny.
next. Yeah.
It's also like hilarious, but has a lot of like big uh, themes into it at the same time of like what we already talked about and just like obviously being an actor in Hollywood. And then it just shifts. Like episode 5 was really good, just like that buddy comedy, like buddy cop comedy almost, where they're like after that guy for the most part.
Yeah.
And
They get stuck in
go
that
to
random
those
house
ring.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
it's
Yeah.
just like all those things. But like I think a lot of it comes through where like the tension is high, there's drama still. But like a lot of it, in my opinion, came through with like Trevor's lines. He had a lot of one-liners, and I just like keep going back to like he said one line about like Stevie Nicks and like and Blow and just like so many of his one lines. I'm like, I just need to go back and like hear them again because they're so funny.
Trevor had the best, craziest life, man.
I know it's so wild.
Oh, what a delight. And then yeah, going to Doorman, that was a chance, because whenever they do that, they do it with Righteous Gemstones too, where they'll do like a time travel episode or whatever, or like a step back episode. When they put the brakes on a season to stop and let you think about something else, it's very chancy if it's going to work out. But this one, using I think the black and white tone, I felt like shifted you enough to where you were like, oh, this is a side story. It's not necessarily connected. It's just giving me context. But I thought it was also a very good critique, not only of the Hollywood system, but of superhero fatigue, and how we can, somebody who could be taken seriously in Thor 1 could be a joke by Thor 4 or something like that. Ding dong on everything. That episode alone, I think, could win an Emmy. It's something else.
It was really well done. I wasn't expecting that at all, right?
Oh, yeah.
Again, too, is like you said, having it black and white was enough to be like, oh, this is not like this is part of the story, but not part of the story. Like when I watched it with my wife, and she was like, "Is this a different universe or like what is this?" I was like, no, it's the same thing, but we're just learning about a different person. And just as like you're completely right, like it could have flopped. And like I was in my prediction of like Doorman why there was a Doorman clause that something bad happened, and we saw that Josh Gad just disappeared wherever he is, most likely the Dark Force dimension. No one knows, but he's gone in the Marvel universe. And again, I thought though that they did a really good job with like balancing, like you said, the critique of Hollywood, seeing kind of like the rise of an actor very quickly and the very quick fall come down of him. But also like balance that nicely with some of the comedy aspects of just like Josh Gad at the beginning, really just feeding off of Olaf for the most part. Like I have a young daughter who loves
good
Frozen.
song. That remix, I want that remix. That was fun.
My daughter, I've seen Frozen so many times, and the fact that I just like, and like he's in the club and you just hear "Summertime," and I'm like, what is happening right now? What
I can't
is happening? Man, but yeah, that was such a good episode. I really just was like, you saw it happening, and then I was like, wow, this is getting real deep real fast. Like we saw the rise of Doorman and DeMar Davis, and just as quickly as he rose, he's fallen back down, which we've all seen happen to someone in terms of like acting or music or anything along those lines. So it, in a way, it was kind of like, again, you were like happy for him, but then you're like, oh man, this really sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. And it also made the superpowers, people being afraid of superpowers, not just because, oh, it could hurt me, but the idea that it's a liability clause or a liability thing for insurance is like, that makes so much sense. It's a variable you can't control in this universe. And I love when the MCU can make something from the comic books seem grounded and real in our own universe. And this is one of those situations. I thought it was smart.
Yeah. They knocked that one out of the park. I agree. Like just that episode alone could win something.
Yeah, yeah. Do you feel how could they use Doorman in the future? Because we don't have a conclusion to Doorman, and apparently Josh Gad has been that guy's been loving it on social media the last few days, saying he'll return in Secret Wars and stuff like that. What do you think they're going to do with him?
Man, I mean, having access to the Dark Force dimension could be huge. I mean, you could just think of like some sort of way. Again, my first thought is like Doom somehow gets access to him, like because having access to that is big, and potentially bringing in Cloak and Dagger, right? Like, yeah. Well, Cloak uses the Dark Force dimension, and Dark Force in general. So somehow bringing them in could be huge. And again, mutants, we know that they're coming. There could be some sort of connection made there. I don't have the best theory as to how that could happen. I mean, it's not really hard, right? It's like he's there and just maybe Cloak just happens to be in there and there he is. We have it.
Yeah, it could be that simple to where maybe he's just on a team now. I think he's in the Great Lakes, if I'm not mistaken, Great Lakes Avengers. Mm-hmm. But yeah, maybe we just see that he's accepted on a team somewhere, and then maybe some point Josh Gad falls out or whatever.
I would really hope to see Cloak do a move
and all of a sudden.
I hope that there's just like one little thing where Josh Gad just like appears in something, even if it's like in the background, and you're just like, holy shit, that's Josh Gad.
Yeah. They set up such a good future joke. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. It's got to be at a high stakes moment too. Like it's all about Dr. Doom and a big fight, and Josh Gad falls out. Oh man, that's gonna be great. Yeah, beautifully done episode, and it is that tonal shift in the show to where we're now going into hiding your power, more, and it was really well done. And then one of the things I wanted to touch on real quick is the music. There wasn't a lot of score to this, but they did it in the beginning a lot, and it was real soft, I think, piano, and it reminded me so much of Fargo, Coen Brothers Fargo, where it just kind of becomes a signature that's setting you off on like a wayward journey or something like that. Did you catch any musical or any sound that was pretty interesting?
Not necessarily. Some of it pretty much at the beginning, like you said, normally start at the beginning of the show. Kind of, for lack of a better term, maybe ominous to me. At least felt.
Oh, I like that.
Kind of like ominous. Just like we don't know what we're gonna get. Per se, not in a bad way. It's just like
a little bit sad too, right?
This.
Like,
yeah,
maybe it's the drudge of trying to become successful.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. There wasn't a lot of score. They used a lot of, what do I want to say, like popular songs where they got, the rights to those and used those in the right spots.
Yeah, Olaf all day. This is going to come down to. Looking at the wider Marvel universe, we mentioned Roxxon, I believe I'm saying it wrong. Right, right. Roxxon's there, which could lead to all kinds of other corruption and stuff. They've been dotted around the MCU. Did you notice anything else tied to the wider Marvel universe?
I don't think so. With the obvious connection of like Department of Damage Control being in
Yeah.
a few of those other projects we've seen. In terms of like Easter eggs, I'm trying to think. I haven't noticed any, and I've only watched it through once, so I haven't had time to like nitpick. I did see someone mentioned in one of the backgrounds, one of the posters. There's a movie poster for Kingo from the Eternals.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, but I saw someone
It
pointing
was
that out.
when they're doing when they zoom in on Rogers musical, the
Okay,
musical.
yeah.
It
I
was
mean,
it was
that
in the
just
thing.
needs to be something in and of itself. Like
Yes,
it's in
100%.
everything. It's
Yeah.
always you always see a poster for it, and you're like, how is this show still going on?
Yeah, and well, that's what I love is like it was a play. Now it's like you get to off
Mhm.
Broadway musical repeat
Yep.
type of thing. Somebody's doing
Yep.
it. Someone's nephew's in it now. Yeah, uh, yeah. I noticed a couple things like the nothing major to connect it with the wider Marvel universe, but I think that was kind of one of its big pluses is you could bring in somebody who doesn't know every Marvel project and just get into it. Like honestly, they would catch the superhero part very slowly because in the first episode he's just shaking the things around him and you're like, oh, he must live next to a train maybe. Little do you know that it's his energy, ionic energy building up. uh, but yeah, I like that it's kind of not connected super closely to anything Avengers. It was good.
Yeah, there wasn't much. The only other bigger Easter eggs I can think of off the top of my head are just like the callbacks to all the Wonder Man suits, like from the comics. Like they had the OG one, and
Yeah,
even the
the
even the
glasses.
one that Simon wore is very similar esque to a comic variation. Um, having his red eyes, again, just real kind of just leaning into the comic lore, but nothing else that I can think of. Which again, like you said, is kind of good. People can just watch and not have to know much of anything or like rely on that.
And it's a fun nod for those who do. Like if when you see that the red jacket he's wearing, you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. Doesn't have to be pushing it. Going into the future, where do you see Simon going into the future of the MCU?
Hmm.
Well, we don't know if they're outlaws. Presumably, he's an outlaw now. I don't know. They make it sound like maybe he's able to do this outside and not have a problem with the studios. I can't imagine that being the case. Um, but do you see him actually joining the Avengers or trying to escape that and just be an actor still?
I feel like he'll end up being a hero by proxy, probably not by choice. I don't feel like he's someone who wants to be a superhero,
Yeah,
at least from what
She-Hulk
we've
like.
gotten so far, right? Like he has these powers, but he's tried so hard to hide them, mainly for just because he doesn't want to be obviously related to the movie, but like he just doesn't want to be different and he just wants to live his life, it seems like. They almost seem like a nuisance to him. Um, and I feel like he's going to get roped in and he doesn't want to, but he's going to. Again, the most natural thing in my mind would be tie him in somehow with Vision and maybe the Scarlet Witch at some point. Depending on however she's going to be brought back in.
Yeah,
If she doesn't,
she's definitely coming
it's
back. There's
going to
no way
blow
that
my
they're going to
mind
keep
if
her
they
gone.
don't, but
Yeah,
they're going to. I have thoughts on that, but that to me would make the most sense. Otherwise, he could just join, like just kind of just like show up and randomly be on a team, I guess, right? However, if they're leaning towards him being a mutant, right, it's like maybe he somehow gets involved with the X-Men. Not that he'll
could
be an
see that.
X-Man probably, but like they'll be like, you're one of us, we can tell.
Right. I could see something with the Thunderbolts version of Avengers because one of the through lines through Thunder, which is actually something that's kind of coming up a lot in Marvel nowadays, and I love that, is like these mental health things that they're working on, and his anxiety issues, I think, would kind of be very recognizable by the Thunderbolts team and be like, hey, come on over here, we'll help you out. I think he plug in quite well over there and would be one of their powerhouses whenever Bob's just reading books. So I think he would be very useful. So I
Totally.
can see him on that team.
Yeah.
Let's give a score for this thing. What do you think? Let's go out of 10. What do you think out of 10?
Out of 10, I gotta give it a 9.
9.
I honestly
Yeah.
don't even know like what the 1 point off is. To be honest, it's just like it was up there. It was really good in my mind. Something completely different. The acting was superb. I felt like it moved nicely for 8 episodes. I would have liked, not that this has anything to do with the show, it would have been nice to have it, maybe not a weekly drop, but maybe like 2 or 3 episodes at a pop or something along those lines, just to like give us a little bit of like waiting in between. But I could see why binging it also works at the same time.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like it was like a movie like a movie that was chopped up into pieces. It felt like it was made to be for, an episodic TV show. So yeah, I really don't know why there's not a 10. It just, in my mind, it wasn't perfect. And I don't think most things can be. It's really hard to be.
It's hard.
And I'm not trying to be like nitpicky, but it just wasn't a 10, and I don't have a reason why it's not.
No, I feel you. I'm the same way where I'm like, because sometimes I'll be like, well, we got to go 9.2 then or something like that, because, and when I get this high up, I'm like, you have to find something that's wrong with this, or else it's a 10. And the only thing I can think of is like, maybe the pacing in the middle is not super exciting, but then you had the Doorman episode in there too, so it's really hard to find something wrong with it. I'm gonna go with a 9 as well, just because it's not sitting at a 10 mentally or whatever, but it really is well worth it. I can't suggest it enough to everybody to check it out. Yeah, this is a big year for Disney. I can't stand that they keep just dropping these shows, and it feels like they're wanting them to go away. Ironheart was the same thing. I'm not saying Ironheart was as good as this by no means, but milk it out a little bit and show it to people. Come on now, this is wild.
Yeah, I think I will say that the marketing for this was better. I feel like it started much later than it probably should have. And then I also feel like if you're not, it's so hard because we are in like the nerd geeky community, so we see a lot of that stuff, right? Whereas if I asked my wife, she probably didn't see anything about this. Like she's not as into this stuff as I am. She probably had no clue that it was even coming on. Mm-hmm. And so like that's the thing is like how does Disney and Marvel hit those people, because they have no idea it's coming. And some of it was so like granular, like a lot of it was like actual movie posters that were posted up of like Trevor or like his acting school or like acting coaching, stuff like that. And it's just like if you didn't know, you wouldn't know, right? And like they had Yaya B. Simon Williams on like the Fantastic Four red carpet, which was great. But again, if you don't know, you would have no idea, right? So it's like, I liked it, but there just needs to be something. And I don't know. I'm not the marketing. That's way above my pay grade.
It was so creative though. And I think you're right. I think for us MCU diehards, we're reckoning like Straw Hat Goofy, one of my favorite creators out there, was doing an interview with Simon and Trevor as Simon and Trevor. And when I go to the comments to be like, this is clever, I love how they did this, or I love how you're doing this, so many of them were like, wait, what's going on with this? Like so many people were confused. I was like, no, this is great. That's Ben Kingsley not doing his accent. Like, come on, guys, catch it. And yeah, maybe they needed something a little bit more broad. I actually think this show would have done quite well on like ABC. Not on Disney Plus, but man, they for some reason don't want to even chance that. But if you were to not tell people this is Marvel and they were to just sit down and watch it, it would be a good show on its own. It doesn't have to be connected.
Yeah, I think the other thing for me is like it almost seemed like they were like, I don't want to say trying to bury it. I mean, you can say all the things like Disney doesn't really like supporting their shows that with black leads or people of color with leads, any of those things. Like literally the night that it premiered, I was in my Disney Plus app on my TV at 8:55. There wasn't a single Wonder Man banner at 8:55, literally 5 minutes before it premiered. I'm on the East Coast for people. So like premiering at 9:00, not a single banner. Once I went into the Marvel section on Disney, it wasn't even one of the first things. I literally had to go to search to type it in. Like I went down a few times. I was like, I don't see this. Why is it not anywhere? I was like, I'm just going to search it, I guess. And then I searched, and it came up, of course. But like, I'm like, why? Literally a brand new show is premiering. And it took me that long to find it.
I know. And they're not doing anything for the Super Bowl commercials for Spider-Man or for Avengers. And I'm like, fine, do a Wonder Man commercial. What the heck? You get that second wave. I think word of mouth is doing really well for the show. I think they're really surprised by how successful it is. And hopefully they start to still give people chances. But there's also kind of that shift in leadership where they started using show Bibles and stuff like that. And this kind of was probably during that transitional phase because they had delayed this. So there is kind of that thing where they're just like, it's the old ways. Let's bury it with everything else. But damn, another great example of a black lead project being discounted by them or whatever, discredited or whatever, is Armor Wars. Is now is like was going to be full show, now a movie. Never hear about it, and it's like Disney, you're messing this up, guys. Come on now, this is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Ironheart, Blade.
Ugh.
There's so many
Break my
things,
heart.
and I do think it all has to stem back from COVID. Put out as many shows as possible, and then quality wasn't as good because we weren't using the right thing and all this other stuff, and then leadership changed. I mean, there's just a big problem, and I think they're finally now we're finally, I think, probably after Wonder Man, we're getting out of those projects that were brought on early in that like COVID time, and now we're kind of, I don't want to say righting the ship because I don't think it was ever that bad, but like now we're finally into their plans where they're like, okay, these are the ones we're sticking with, and we're going to just promote the hell out of them.
Yeah, Daredevil's probably the most obvious example of that because they had chopped it down from I think it was like 16 episodes or something wild like that down to the 9. But then you could even see when you're watching the episodes, and Charlie mentioned that like the bank heist episode was from the old era, and this episode's from this era, and it was like, okay, so the next season of Daredevil should be complete fire. And you know, we're saying this the week that Disney has their call where they're going to be voting for a new CEO. So yes, it's working right now, but it might change again next week. Who knows? Just don't mess this up, guys. Meanwhile, I never thought DC had a fighting chance for a long time against Marvel, but the DCU is looking real good right now after that Superman and Peacemaker. So watch out.
It is. Supergirl looks good. I know next to nothing about like most DC stuff in general, honestly, but like seeing that trailer, I'm like, wow, this looks good. Even like He-Man and Masters of the Universe, not DC related, but like
right.
I didn't even watch that like as a kid, and I'm just like, okay, this looks good. I'm interested.
We were talking about that. I had the action figures. I'd never watched an episode, but I had the action figures for some reason. Who knows? With on sale somewhere or something. And to me, I keep going back to the fact that it reminds me of Dungeons and Dragons, the new movie that we had recently, the Thieves one. And how I was just like, it doesn't take itself seriously. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm watching that in theater, so it's going to be a blast. That's good. Let's go with our recommendations for the week. Do you have a recommendation people should be checking out this week? Movie, TV show, comic book?
Like that? Comic book. Let's just go with right now. I'm a big fan of the alternate universe in Marvel of like the Ultimate Universe, the one that was just like more newly relaunched, like 2022, 2023, somewhere around there. The Ultimates by Dennis Camp or Denise Camp.
There we go.
Is really good. It's one of my favorite comics right now. It's probably one of my favorite comics in general. Dennis Camp, he is one of those writers that is just like, I don't care what you write at this point, I'm going to pick it up and read it. It is basically, I just like all of the parallels of that world as to what's happening in our world right now. And he's basically writing a playbook for people who aren't deranged fascists to rise up against the fascist regime, essentially. That's all I'll say about it. It's just really good. And it's just a different take on the Marvel universe. If
you want some more fascist face punching, Absolute Batman, read that one too, because that's a dude with a big fist doing it. And it's like, yeah, baby. It feels good every time. I'm going to give a shout out to a show that I love and I've seen already a couple times, but I'm revisiting it right now, Schitt's Creek. After we lost Catherine O'Hara, at far too young of an age of 71. Go back and watch it, guys. Her Moira, it just brings joy in a world that we could use some more of it. So it's so good.
Such a good show. Oh my gosh. Like the first, I'm not going to lie, like the first episode where she's just like screaming.
Yeah.
Like my wife was watching it and I wasn't really paying attention. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you watching? And then like after you get through that, I'm like,
right.
Okay. And then it's just hilarious. So good.
Yeah, they're so insufferable in the beginning. And who knew that like 3 or 4 seasons later on, you're like, I love them. They're so cool. So good. So please check that out, guys. It's a really good time to revisit Catherine O'Hara's, some of her best work. And yeah, it's really good. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Before we leave, Joe, what do you have next on your YouTube channel and on the podcast?
Well, the podcast, I'm still making my way through Fantastic Four. We are about halfway through with that. So we're just chugging along for like the next 50-ish issues of Fantastic Four by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. On the YouTube, I've just been really putting out some shorts. I do have a video. It just has to be edited on Doctor Doom's powers. I'm going to try to lean into Doctor Doom, just knowing Doomsday is coming and people are going to be wanting more and more Doctor Doom. So that's on deck. Other than that, I've been debating on if I want to make something for Daredevil Born Again, like season 2. I haven't decided yet. It's time that I don't have.
It's what's hard is your video is very well polished, and it's a lot of editing. I noticed the zooms and the pans and stuff like that. That's all time consuming. So it looks beautiful, but I can't imagine how long it takes for you. You have to really plan out ahead.
The biggest thing is like I'm relatively new to comics and I try to make sure that I'm hitting the right stuff, and I could easily just like typing something into Google or wherever, and a lot of times it's not 100% correct. And I also would just like, or they reference something and it says it's this comic and it's not always right, and I want to be putting out the right information. So then I also need to like read those issues, which also takes time. And like reading these Fantastic Four ones set back in the 60s, it literally takes like 20 to 25 minutes to read one issue. There's so much dialogue compared to like now.
Yeah.
Compared to now, it'll take me 10, maybe 15 minutes to read an issue. So like I can get 2 issues of a modern comic in on one, and it's just, it's a lot of time.
That's like Watchmen. Everybody should read Watchmen, Alan Moore's Watchmen. But when you open that thing up, you're like, this is just a novel. They just have a few pictures in this thing. It's crazy how thick it is. I had a lot to say.
So
Jesus.
that's my big thing. I just want to make sure the right information is getting out, and so I end up reading it, which again just takes time.
Editing wise, about how long does it take for you to do one video?
That's a good question, and it really depends because I would say, man, I've gotten better with like some workflows in terms of like with my pans and zooms. I still have to adjust sometimes, but I have like stuff that's like preset that I can just drag over on top of it, so it doesn't take as long. It's really, for me, it's the reading of the comics and finding the correct issues, and then literally screenshotting like the panels that I want to find, and then doing that and then putting them in. So I mean, a 5-minute video could take me anywhere. I mean, between trying to do a title, editing, just scripting, all of that stuff and editing. I mean, we're talking like a 5-minute video could probably take anywhere between I would say at most like maybe 10 hours. It takes a while.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to make sure people know. I mean, they got to understand that it can't be done every day. It takes so long.
It's not as easy as it looks. And people are like, oh, I could just do that. And like, while they could, and like if I read the comics and I had way more knowledge, I'm sure this would take a lot less time, but I don't. So like I'm trying to make that leap also, so it's not simple.
Yeah, and to do it with quality too. That's the key too. Is you could do a fast, not great one, but no, this is good stuff. So make sure you guys check everything out. All the links in the description. Joe, thank you so much for joining me today, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Talk to you on the next one. Bye.